I'm excited. There's that side there. Look at the other side. We got the dual tweeters and the A-pillars. And look at the other side over there. Boom. Make sure to subscribe and hit those notifications. Let's get loud, people. As you can see, I got my door panels off there on both sides. Very simple. I'm not going to go into a how-to as far as the specifics because every vehicle is different. But literally, there's just 3 bolts and then it just popped off. So mine is pretty simple. Got everything disconnected. And here they are laid out on the floor here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some cardboard and I'm going to actually cut some templates to the shape that I'm looking to create. And I'm going to transfer that cardboard template onto MDF. And then go ahead and cut her out and get her all perfectly lined up on both sides. So without further ado, let's get it going. All right, so just as a quick example, I laid those speaker rings there about where I'm gonna place them. I got the 8-inch there and I got 2 6.5s. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my grinder here. If you don't have one of these, you can use a Dremel or any kind of cutting or sanding tool you wanna use. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first flatten this out, right? So because I'm gonna make a template, a base plate out of MDF, and I need it to lay flat. And then also I'm gonna grind out some holes there so that the speakers can poke through the magnets on the back of the speakers just in case it needs the extra room there. I wanna make sure to give it that extra space. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to work and I'll show you the result once we're done. All right, so there you go, got everything cleaned up. That's what it looks like. And the reason why I did it like that is because when I put the rings in place, you can see plenty of space for the magnet to just slide right through the baseboard once I get it there as well into the door panel. So wanted to show that. I'm gonna go ahead and get a template drawn out for the backboard, transfer it over to some MDF and cut it out, and we'll go from there. All right, so just really quickly, as you can see, I did a rough template with some paper that I had. Just kind of sketching it out, following the contours that I want. And now I'm gonna transfer it to some cardboard so I can get a more solid piece to make sure it's all lined up, and then finally to the MDF. You know what they say, measure twice, cut once. All right, so I transferred it to the cardboard. I really would have liked to have done it on one solid straight piece instead of a bendy piece, but it should work out just fine. And here it is, boom. All right, there is the trace out. All I gotta do is cut it out now and then go ahead and line it up there, do any final little adjustments as needed, and then go ahead and cut it out of the MDF. All right, so I got the template cut. As you can see, it outlines exactly where I want it to go. And now, since I got it just how I like it, I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it to the MDF and cut her out. And what I'm also gonna do is I'm also gonna trace that on the back here from underneath. Just come up underneath with a marker and trace it. So that way I can cut the holes in my MDF baseboard too and just have everything all set to go. So here we go. All right, so I got the template transferred from the cardboard to the MDF. Boom, there it is. Now I just gotta grab my jigsaw, cut it out and test fit it on the panel to see if it fits or I need to do any adjustments. All right, so there it is. I think it fits pretty good. Now, just for some reference, how these are gonna go. So I'm gonna have that one like that, and like that. And obviously they're not gonna be flat. I got some dowels that I'm gonna hot glue in place so they're raised up enough to give clearance. Just wanted to show the format there. So let me go ahead and trace out another piece of MDF. And just a pro tip here, because I'm sure pretty common sense, but you don't need to retrace that door. To make that one fit on the other side, you just basically flip it. And then like magic, boom, it just fits perfectly on the other side as well. So I'm just gonna trace this out, cut out another piece, and then move on to the next step. Okay, now that I got both base plates done, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna temporarily tape them in place. I'm gonna stand up the door panels, turn them around, and trace where I need to cut holes in the base panels for the speakers to mount. All right, as you can see, the panel's flipped upside down, and now I got an easy trace under there. I'm just gonna go ahead and outline the whole trace, and we'll be good to go. All right, so there it is. I'm gonna go ahead and drill a pilot hole Then take my jigsaw and cut out around the lines. Here we go. All right, there it is. Put it in place here. Boom. Fits like a glove. All right, let's go ahead and knock out the other one there. All right, well, looky there. We got the base plates cut out for both doors with the cutouts for the magnets of the speakers. Now I'm gonna go ahead and mount those rings using these dowels and some hot glue to prop them up exactly where I need them. So without further ado, let's get it rolling. I'm chugging along here, getting these propped up where I want them. Basically all I'm doing is I took these dowels and I cut them to the length that I wanted to. And then I'm basically just putting the rings there, putting the dowels to connect it to the baseboard, to the speaker ring. And it's really that simple. There's not much more to explain about that. So that's what I'm gonna do with this one too. Same thing. And then the same thing over there too. So let me keep going on here. Well, there they are. All the speaker rings are mounted and I think they look pretty good so far. They're as symmetrical as I could get them. And now what's left to do is obviously I'm gonna go ahead and wrap these with some felt, put some fiberglass hardener on there, and then go ahead and reinforce it with fiberglass. Then do the whole Bondo and putty glaze, sand. And I got some really nice 4-way stretch black vinyl to match the black vinyl that's already here on the Hummer door. So I think it's gonna look pretty awesome and I can't wait, but I'm gonna call it a wrap for the night because I'm tired and I'm hungry, but we shall start again in the morning. All right, I had to take one more video here because I just got them off, laid them on my toolbox here, and I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. I think they look pretty nice. And for my first time doing custom door panels, I think it's turned out pretty well. I'm actually surprised how symmetrical everything is. I mean, gosh, I don't think I could have lined that up better if I tried. But yeah, I'm excited for it. Tomorrow I'm gonna lay the fiberglass and put some resin on there to harden it up. I'm gonna reinforce it with some fiberglass matting, sand it out, put some Bondo and putty on there, sand it out, and get it prepped for some black vinyl I got going on. But that's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you in the morning. All right, so I have this fleece that I got, and I'm gonna wrap these panels with it, pull it tight, and then staple it in place to give it the shape that I want. And this stuff is really easy to work with. I mean, literally, you just drape it across however you want it, right? You start in one corner, drape it in place, and then you can just kind of mold it how you want, and then just staple it in place. And it's gonna be kind of hard to work it with one hand here, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it, and then show you the end result of what I came up with here. But again, all you do is you lay it out, stretch it a little bit, right? Any contour you want, like if you want that to be more accentuated, you pull it down, you just staple it right around here, okay? And don't worry about the staples being exposed because once you lay fiberglass on to reinforce it and put that Bondo on there and all that, you're not gonna be able to see the staples. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get this done and I'll show you how it looks. All right, so there it is. I got the fabric stretched across the panel there. Liking how it turned out so far. I'm gonna go ahead and mix up some fiberglass resin and hardener, paint it on there with a paintbrush, let it harden, and then take it to the next step. So without further ado, let's get mixing. All right, so I'm ready to mix up a batch of my resin here. And just looking at the instructions, because it's been a long time since I used fiberglass, it says for every 1 ounce of resin, you wanna use 10 drops of the hardener that's included with it. So I've already measured, I'm gonna use 6 ounces of resin, which is up to that second line from the top there, which means I'm gonna need to use 60 drops of hardener. I'm gonna mix it up and just start lathering it on. Simple as that. So let me get this mixed up. All right, so I got the hardener all mixed in there. Made sure to mix it up really, really nice. Now, the only thing to do is to go ahead and brush it on. It says there's an 8 to 10 minute working time. So I'm definitely gonna abide by that because I don't want to harden up on me. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint quick, put the camera down and get this done, then I'll go ahead and pick it back up and show you the result. So here we go. All right, so there it is. I'm gonna let it dry now to however long it takes to get hard so I can start doing the fiberglass reinforcement with my fiberglass matting, which, might as well show it to you guys. Oh, here it is right here. I'm gonna chop it up into little squares, little pieces, so that it's easy to apply with the resin to reinforce this sucker. But like I said, I'm gonna let this thing dry now, and I'm gonna work on the passenger side and get it to this point. And I'm thinking by the time I get done with the passenger side, this one should be hard enough where I can start reinforcing it with fiberglass. So here we go. Pretty dang good so far. So as you can see, right, there's the frame of it here. And I've just basically stretched the fabric around, stapled it around the edges. And then I do plan on eventually taking that out, grinding it flat once the fiberglass resin is hardened. And then once the initial fiberglass resin is hardened, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually lay fiberglass on the inside of this as well, not just the outside, but I'm gonna take little pieces of that fiberglass matting, stick it up all in here, all inside of there, all in there, all back in here, and put some resin in there and just get it nice and absorbed so it's super solid from the inside out. Because I don't want this thing to break apart when I start sending power to it, because I plan on putting a lot of power to this thing. So just wanted to show kind of a more in-depth look since I didn't do it the last piece, but yeah, there it goes right there. All right, so one more thing, it would behoove you to do this, and I did it to the last piece too, but I didn't show me doing it, is make sure you test fit after every step. Some people test fit only after their first step, like, oh, it fits, and then when they wrap it in the felt, it changes the shape and contour a little bit. Maybe they didn't staple it in the right place, and then they fiberglassed it, hardened up, and now it's too late because it hits the corner of their dash or something. So I test fit after every step. Again, it's not attached or connected in any way. I just have it basically sat up there where it's gonna be in the general area, and then just shut your door, right? Shut it. I like to come on the inside, actually sit down and shut it so I can get a feel as far as what it's hitting on, if it's hitting on anything or if there's clearance. So let me go ahead and try that right now. Ugh. Coming in, try to shut it. There we go. And I'm looking there, boom, perfect clearance. It's not gonna hit the dash, it's not gonna hit anything. As a matter of fact, I did it in such a way where, boom, I can even open my glove box. A lot of people overlook that step, but I wanted to make sure that I had at least got about a 1/2 inch of clearance there so that I can open up this in the car if I need to. So check everything. I also wanted to make sure that I can operate my seat buttons right here, because some people put it so close that they can't even, the passenger or driver, they can't even reach their seat control. So just make sure ergonomically that it's exactly, gonna fit what you need. And so that way you're not having to tear it apart and do twice the amount of work. So just wanted to show that there. All right, so what I did to prepare for reinforcing a fiberglass, I cut the matting into different sizes. I got big squares, I got medium-sized ones, and I also got some small ones to fit into the small areas. So I recommend you do this so that way you're not having to stop and cut pieces as you're fiberglassing, because the resin does have a set time. You got a small working window, I believe about 10-15 minutes max. So you wanna make sure to prep yourself as good as possible. So that's how I did it, and I'm gonna be ready to rock and roll here soon. They're almost done getting completely hard, so I can start the reinforcement process. All right, so I just sat it up there since the fiberglass resin has completely hardened, just to kind of show what it would look like, what it's going to look like once it's all done. But I think it's looking pretty cool, and door shuts, everything works fine. Something else you might want to be aware of is make sure that your foot brake, if you have one, clears. Because last thing you want to do is get it all made, perfectly done, and then find out, you can't put your foot brake on because it hits it or it gets in the way. So something else to keep an eye on. So anyway, gonna continue. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm taking my grinder and I'm grinding the fiberglass down to the actual edge of the speaker ring so that it is nice and flush, and the speaker will mount in there perfectly. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to it, and I'll show you when it's all done. Got it all grinded out nice and smooth around the whole perimeter so the speakers can just plop right in there. But pretty excited, it's starting to take shape. Gonna lay some fiberglass reinforcement now. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go inside, all in there, all in there, all in there, to make it super, super strong. And then sand it out and put the good old Bondo and putty, get it all smoothed out, and just keep the project rocking and rolling. So here we go. Doing is I'm laying fiberglass. I already did a few sheets. Go ahead and get in there, buddy. You can also take out those dowels because they don't support the structure anymore since it is fiberglass already. It's already hardened. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these little sheets already pre-cut. I'm basically just putting them in there like that. And then I'm taking my resin here, which I already mixed with the hardener, and then just painting it like this. And then I do the same thing in the other direction. And I basically just do that all around the entire perimeter on the inside. And I'm not too worried about the overhang because I can always trim that out with the grinder and get it nice and flush with the ring. But that's basically all you're doing, and just doing around the whole thing, all inside of there, all up here, and I just get it all done. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to work. All right, YouTube, so I got everything sanded out, got it nice and smooth. If you look inside there, I got everything fiberglass, so it's super reinforced. You can literally stand on it. I actually did to try, and it supports over 200 pounds, so I know it's gonna hold the speakers just fine. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the Bondo now. I got my body filler and got the hardener here to mix in, got the spatulas. Gonna go ahead and get cooking, put a layer on, get her smoothed out, fill in all those imperfections, and then sand her out and get her as smooth as possible. And then what I'm gonna do after that is I'm gonna spot putty it with this glazing putty. Basically just fills in all the little small imperfections, and then get her sanded out and get her ready to get wrapped. So, ready to do this, buddy?
Ready, let's get it.
All right, let's get her done. All right, so we got the Bondo painted on there. Boy, that was a pain in the butt. It wasn't like icing a cake, although I think I treated it that way, and that's why it turned out that way. But it's better too much than too little, I guess, because it's got a lot more sanding ahead of me. I wanted to make sure to get all the high spots or all the low spots, so I don't have to go back over it twice. But I'm gonna go ahead and start sanding it because it's not 100% set. So it's past the gummy stage, setting into hard like a rock, but I wanted to sand it before that. From what I gather, you want to sand it before it gets super set, so it's easier to sand off. And then you can do the final sanding once it hardens completely. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started on it. Here we go.
Hi, guys.
All right, so at this step, I figured out why people pay so much money to have people do this for them, because this stage sucked. I used my electric grinder to take off most of the big stuff, but now I got all these little imperfections and things that I'm gonna have to sand out the good old fashioned way with the sandpaper. But like I said, I got most of the big bumps out. You can't see there, but it is pretty smooth all the way around. But there's still a lot of bumps that I gotta sand out as much as I can, and then use my spotting putty to fill in the gaps there. But yeah, it's definitely a lot bigger of a project than I thought it was gonna be, but I know the end result will be well worth it. So I'm gonna start sanding and getting all that little stuff down. All right, so after about 3 to 4 hours of sanding, I got her pretty smooth all the way across. There are some few imperfections, a couple pinholes there, a few down here, a couple here. But for the most part, she is baby butt smooth. And let me tell you how much work that was. It was a pain in the butt. My arm is killing me. But all those imperfections I'm gonna fill with this glazing and spot putty, let her dry, and sand her down with some probably 320, 360. I don't know what the grit number is, somewhere around there. Get her nice and smooth, and then that'll be it. Then I'm just gotta wrap her with my fabric, and she'll be good to go. So just want to show my progress. I'm gonna go ahead and get that spot putty in there. And basically, you just put a little dab and just wipe it wherever you want it, let it dry, and then go over with sandpaper. That simple. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. All right, so there it is with all the spot putty in place. I covered most, if not all, the imperfections I could find. And again, I'm not trying to get perfect with it because I'm not painting it. I'm gonna dab it in contact cement and wrap it with black vinyl. So, you know, any little imperfection is gonna be hidden under the vinyl anyway, but I tried to make sure to get at least all the ones that would be noticeable. But there's a little pinholes here and there that you're not even gonna notice under the vinyl. And again, if I was painting it, I would be more vigilant to make sure I got absolutely everything. But I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna go ahead and knock it out with some 300-ish grit sandpaper, and I'll show you the final result. All right, so I got all that putty sanded out, and I am about 99% happy. There's still a few flaws here, a couple, you know, pinhole size things, but overall, it's pretty dang smooth and all the little imperfections have been filled out. My OCD nature is gonna have me put a little more spot putty on in some of the spots, a couple spots down here. Let's see. Yeah, I think there's a couple over here, yeah. I'm gonna sand it out again, but overall, I think I covered mostly everything. But again, I'm not trying to be perfect here because I'm gonna wrap it in vinyl, but my OCD nature is just forcing me to get all those spots that I missed. So should do one more round and then we'll be good to go. This is why you have a little helper with you. Thanks for cleaning up, buddy.
You're welcome.
All right, I am glad to say that I am 100% done with the filling sanding process. I got it absolutely as smooth as I could all the way around. There are some very small blemishes and little pinholes and light scratches, but definitely not enough to show through the vinyl I'm gonna be getting. Like I said, if I was gonna paint it, I would have probably spent another entire day sanding and working up to 220, maybe 300 plus grit sandpaper. But again, these are gonna be wrapped in vinyl, so I didn't want to spend too much time. But I know you can't really see through the video here, but they are pretty dang smooth all the way around. So I'm just waiting for my vinyl to come in. Should be here on Thursday, which is day after tomorrow. I got my contact cement ready to go. Gonna get these suckers wrapped, installed on my door panels, wired up, and ready to rock and roll. Okay, so I'm about to wrap my first panel here. This is the fabric that I got. It just came in from Sailrite. Kind of a faux leather vinyl. The reason why I got it is because of its four-way stretch. Basically what that means is if you pull it, it stretches that way, and also it stretches that way. If you have any difficult lines and contours in your build, you wanna make sure to get four-way stretch fabric because it's gonna be a lot easier to contour it around the edges. So for bonding, I got the Weldwood contact cement. So basically what you do, okay, is you brush it on. So you're gonna brush it on the back of your fabric, and you're also gonna brush it on your pod, and then you're gonna let it dry for about 15 to 20 minutes, okay? And what's gonna happen is it's gonna be dry to the touch. It's not gonna be sticky, or it's not gonna be wet. How contact cement works, in case you're unfamiliar with it, is it only sticks to itself. So once you get it on here and you get it on here, okay, once you actually touch it on here and put pressure, that's it, it's gonna stick, okay? You can if you lightly set it down, you can barely reposition it, right? It may be a little tacky, but once you apply pressure, let alone pressure and heat, that's it, done deal. You're not gonna be able to get it off. So gonna go ahead and cut the fabric to size that I need, just to get it into general size that I'm gonna need for this covering here. And we'll go ahead and take it from there. And something else that you might find useful is a actual heat gun. That's gonna help you warm up the fabric to allow it to stretch a little bit better around the curves. If you don't have one of these, you can probably use the wife's hair dryer. It'll be just fine, but this produces a lot of heat. So I gotta be careful not to put it too close and scorch the fabric. So got the piece cut to size. It's pretty much what I need to make the panel fit good. Let me put it here, boom. There you go. And gonna go ahead and lay the contact cement now, let it dry, and start wrapping. All right, so there it is. Got it all mixed up and stirred up. So now the only thing left to do is go ahead and paint it on there. And that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so I got everything contact cemented. As you can see, it's already dry to the touch over here. Still a little bit wet down on this side. Just got done with this, so obviously it's still pretty wet. It's actually starting to dry a little bit over here. But yeah, now it's just a waiting game. It says 15 to 20 minutes. And then gonna go ahead and get to work. All right, so I'm ready to get wrapping here. And unexpectedly, this stuff started to curl. That's why I got weight in each of the corners there. I'm not quite sure why that happened, but I don't think it's a big deal. I got this almost completely dry. What I got here is I got parchment paper. Just for any grocery store you can get it. And basically why I have that here is I'm just covering up the pieces that I don't want that to make contact with yet. So that way it doesn't make accidental contact and I don't accidentally push it down and find myself in a bad position. So I'm just gonna tuck it under there as well. I'm just gonna lightly cover the areas with parchment paper that I don't want to make contact with yet. That way I got a smaller area, more defined area to work with. And then when I'm ready to wrap the back end of it, I'll just go ahead and remove that. So just thought I would share my progress here. I'm gonna put the camera down and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Everybody pray and wish me luck here. So for me, one of the scariest parts is done. I got it laid down there and I'm gonna start putting pressure and little heat and getting her stuck on there. So here we go. All right, so step one complete. I got it all pressed down here on the face. As you can see, the complete outline of it. It is pretty solid. And now comes the part of just pulling and stretching to get it exactly where I need. Now this is something I can't just record and do. So you're just gonna have to trust me here and let me get to work, okay? But all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull, stretch, and press down around the whole thing. And I'll show you the final result once I get there. So here we go. All right, so I figured I'd show some progress so far. Still stretching it and trying to wrap it around, contour it. It's a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be, in all honesty. I heard people say, oh, well, it's not that bad. Yeah, it actually is. Maybe it's because I just need more practice doing it, but I mean, it's coming out okay. It's just a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. But anyway, gonna go ahead and get this finished up here. All right, well, there it is. Didn't turn out too bad. It wasn't as sticky as I thought. I don't know if I did anything wrong or I don't know, but it was very easy to peel off and then put back on. As a matter of fact, I had problems with it connecting or bonding with the wood, so I had to staple it all the way around just to make sure that it doesn't separate over time. Let me turn over here. So as you can see around the entire perimeter, I did staple it because that contact cement, it wasn't enough. So there's that. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the speaker openings and go ahead and paste it down and make sure that I can get the speakers in there properly. And we'll go from there. All right, YouTube, so what I did was I positioned my panel underneath where I wanted it, my custom door pod, as you can see it through the holes here. And what I'm doing is I'm just picking some spots in the corners. I already did one right there, but I'm probably gonna do one here, 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 and here. Basically all I'm doing is I'm drilling holes, just like that. And then I got some screws with washers, and I also got some lock washers here to prevent it from backing out. So I'm gonna go ahead and at least secure this probably with 6 or 8 of them, mount the door panel, put the speakers on, and that's a wrap. And then I just gotta do the passenger side. All right, so when cutting out the speaker holes, this is what I recommend you doing, and I wouldn't do anything more, because once you set the speakers in, what's gonna happen is it's gonna push it down, and as you screw in the speakers, it's going to just basically seal off and press down and create the seal and secure the vinyl where it's supposed to be. So anyway, gonna go ahead and get this one mounted and installed and show you the result. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the final product. And I gotta say, I am so happy with how it turned out. I love the contours. I love how the speakers are just perfectly flush. I tell you what, I don't think I could have done better if I tried. I'm very happy with the result. And even though it was difficult, even though there was a lot of struggle, a lot of grief, blood, sweat, and tears, the end result is always worth it. If you're consistent, diligent, and make sure that you don't take any shortcuts, this is the kind of results you can have. So I'm excited. There's that side there. Looking at the other side, we got the dual tweeters and the A-pillars. And look at the other side over there. Boom. Love it. Only thing left to do is to do a door test. So make sure you subscribe, hit those notifications. The next video I'm gonna do a full distance door test on these puppies to hear them scream. And I tell you what, I'm pretty sure with those mid-ranges in combination with those tweeters, it's gonna be a pretty far distance test. So I'm excited. Make sure to subscribe and hit those notifications. Let's get loud, people.